Rivalry week, catch the fever, woohoo. But first, we're going to start off. Harlon Barnett, how much of a disappointment has this been, even for an interim coach? And then 2 decommits over the weekend. And then, we are going to talk this rivalry week, I guess. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On Spartans is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code LOCKEDONCollege, all one word, for a first deposit match up to $100. That is Prize Picks. Daily fantasy sports made easy. And speaking of easy, it's always easy. Talking to my near dear friend, Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports, even if it's a hard conversation, such as Michigan State football, this upcoming rivalry game going on Saturday, which I can't wait for. Catch the fever. Whatever. Enough of my misery over here. Steven, you look happy. You're smiling right now. How are you doing, man? You survived Newark, New Jersey's airport. Look at you. You have every reason to smile. How are you doing?
That's right. Hey, I'm great, man. I got the world at my fingertips. Yeah, I made it out of Newark alive. Well, I don't know about healthy, but I am here. I just hope I can give you a good show today, man. I keep looking at that thing over your sholdder. Folks got to watch the video version because Matt's got some new gizmos and widgets going on in the background that really, command your attention. So I hope I don't just get mesmerized by that thing and trail off.
Might be talking about that in an ad read here in a few moments. But hey, first, Steven, we're going to talk a little bit about this game. I'm not going to let this Rutgers game fester over many more days because, me and a lot of Spartan Nation have been doing a great job at doing that so far, and we got to turn the page eventually here. However, Steven, this was after we recorded our post-game show on Saturday. Obviously, we know all the blunders they had in the fourth quarter. And, well, I saw this quote when I hopped on Twitter that I have just not let go in the 48 hours after this game. Harlon Barnett, acting head coach of Michigan State, said, quote, about, why they line it for an onside kick with 8 minutes to go, only up 3 points. He said, quote, "That was a time in the game when you go for an onside kick." Again, I'll state the situation again, Steven. It was more than 8 minutes to go in the game, 3-point difference. There's not a single American football team, high school, college, or pro, that line up to receive an onside kick with that much time in the game with the score that small. Steven, I'm sorry to be rambling here, but my expectations for Harlon Barnett as acting head coach were so low that there were earthworms over it. I expected so little out of Harlon Barnett. I just needed this guy to provide some stability and guidance to these young men. I didn't even care if he provided day-to-day, recon on the other team, not taking a traditional head coach's role, but just being a leader. My expectations were just so low, Steven, but not so low where I don't expect you to hold on to an 18-point lead on the road against Rutgers of all teams, and then offering up the excuse of, well, yeah, teams always line up for onsides with 8 minutes to go in a 3-point game. Steve, am I being unfair to Harlon Barnett, or is even this been a disappointment in his tenure so far as acting head coach? I can't believe how bad it's gotten. And Steven, I thought it was going to be pretty bad in the first place.
Yeah, of course, there's no way you can't say it's been a disappointment, I think. Especially the way the games have played out. They should be 3-2, at least. That Iowa was a winnable game. Let it go. Let it get away. Obviously, last weekend was a winnable game and let it get away. So I guess it'd be 4-2. Sorry, bad math there. But absolutely, it's disappointing. And it's not that I necessarily hold. I'm not going to say it's all Harlon's fault or anything. He inherited a mess. And it's an impossible job that he was thrown into, but. It's tough when he comes into every post-game press conference and says, it's the discipline and it's self-inflicted mistakes and stuff. And it's yes, it is. But you said that last week. You said that the game before that. You said that the game before that. Every game, he's kind of said the same thing post-game. And look, I give him credit. He's trying. The guy cares a lot about this program. Yeah, he's never been in this position before. And I do tip my cap because he doesn't just go up there and BS us. At least in my from my perspective, he really is not comfortable lying. So if you ask the right question, he'll, sort of squirm a little bit, but it'll give you the truth for the most part. Or at least give you a strong hint. But yeah, I mean, coaching let these guys down that game, and now I don't know how much exact oversight Harlan has over the punt team, but if they just come out of a dead ball, I believe it was a timeout, right? It was right before the legal formation.
Yeah, or a change of quarter. I forgot which one, but there was a dead ball. There's time to coach your team how to line up properly for a punt in week 6 of a season. Yeah, there was time for that.
Yeah,
Steven.
Yeah. So that was, and then if just not for that one, we're probably talking about a whole different thing here. And it's like, can they, they got some momentum out of Rutgers. Can they spring up against Michigan? The coaching let them down there, whether it was that, the onside formation, which, look, I haven't studied, Greg Schiano is a good and sneaky special teams coach. So I don't have the data to see when he's taken onside kicks before. Maybe there's something there, but yeah, traditionally with 8 minutes left in a 3-point game, that's not a situation that you do that. So, and the returner's got to be cognizant of that. The snap and the punt drop. I mean, special teams has been bad since this staff's been in place. That part is not negotiable. And really, they've been carried by two. I wrote this after the game. They've been carried by 2 NFL guys, Bryce Behringer and Jaden Reed. Those guys masked so much other BS, since 2020. And other than that, it's pretty much been awful. For the most part, it really just has. A pro punter, maybe the best in NFL history, and a pro returner, 2nd-round pick, have really carried this thing, the whole special teams operation. But there's been plenty of cracks that we've seen well before this game, well before Iowa, on special teams, and that bit them there. So that was troubling. There's a lot that was troubling. 18-point lead goes away, and I thought, feel free to take the wheel here and spin it wherever you got to go, Matt. But that last drive where Kyle Monangai really got hot, that was the first time in this whole ordeal where I sort of questioned, man, are these guys are they maxing out? Are they giving full go effort here? And because they were just getting leaned on and pushed back and pushed over. It was a bulldozer of a drive. That was the one. I didn't feel that at all at Maryland. Washington was just sort of a non, that was going to happen with Bill Belichick on the sideline. That was going to happen.
Right.
Maryland, though, I felt the fight. Iowa, I felt the fight. Even after the punt return and all that, I felt the fight. But that last series was the first time I started questioning it.
That is something we got pushback on after the post game because there was a question hey, did this team quit or were we just outplayed? And my answer was no, unfortunately. This is just who they are. I don't think they quit. And there was some pushback from a lot of listeners and viewers being I don't know. After that whole punt fiasco happened, I feel like the team mailed it in. And on a second watch, because, Steven, that's how miserable of a person I am. I did watch that 4th quarter again. I'm not fully convinced that they gave up, but there's the argument there to be laid out, no question. And there's something that I want to funnel into right now. And unfortunately, we're going to stick with Harlon Barnett here. And I hate to pile on because, look, I have massive respect for this guy. Yes, has he really disappointed as a coach? 100%. But again, horrible situation. I think that he is a great leader of these men. I have the utmost respect for Harlon Barnett. But do you know what I did not need to read on Twitter on Monday is Harlon Barnett's tweet of Monday motivation. Your expectations always affect your behavior. Are you bleeping kidding me? Yeah, that is 100% what we see with your teams every Saturday. Your expectations always affect your behavior. Because, boy, this team plays like a team that expects to lose every single game, even with, Steven, 3 possession leads. So, yeah, it's the muff punt happened, and tale as old as time. Uh-oh, here comes the avalanche, everyone. Hope you got your snowsuit on. It's going to get ugly, but I don't even have a question out of that. That's just rambling and kind of just doubling down. It's broken. It's broken. It's what we already know, though. Still more to come with our guy, Stephen Brooks, but first have to talk your ear off about LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. It's so easy. Hey, even a schmuck like me can just simply add a job. I know you can do it too. And when you do so, add that purple hashtag hiring frame around your profile to spread the word that you are hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so that you can quickly prioritize who you would like to interview and hire. There's no questioning why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So what are you waiting for? LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Also, need to talk about a new friend of the program. It is Team Ticker. Steven brought it up at the start of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, you've been watching it behind me all show. If you're on the podcast, just think of a game day countdown clock that you've seen before, countdown till kickoff. Now imagine that, but inject some steroids into it, because this is not just your everyday countdown sign. This shows records, stats, fun facts about Michigan State. It is updated throughout the year, all on an app that's super easy to set up, guys. I'm terrible with technology. Setting up this Team Ticker sign behind me took me like a minute, maybe 2 minutes. It is so easy, and best of all, you're going to be one of the rare ones that have this. This is a new company. If you want something that no one else has in their man cave, in their garage, in their kitchen, wherever you want to hang this thing, well, yeah, it's going to be a golden opportunity for you. So head to teamticker.com and smash in promo code locked on. Again, teamticker.com promo code locked on. Team Ticker is a one-of-a-kind sports sign from now until the end of October. If you go to teamticker.com and use that promo code locked on, you'll receive $50 off your Team Ticker purchase. All right, let's get back to the show with Stephen Brooks.
I think if anybody's followed you on social media for a while, I think respectfully they know to sort of, especially in-game tweets, to look through a certain lens. But you had one late in that game. You're like, I think everybody knows how this is going to happen, right?
Oh, it was inevitable. Yeah, it was inevitable.
Yeah, and that was still like they were up. I think still 2 scores at that point.
Yeah,
when you tweeted that whole fourth, most of the fourth quarter to go, maybe even still late in the third. But and I felt that though. I was like, wow, yeah, no, he's spot on there, because this does feel like it. And and that's why when you look at that last drive, and whatever word you want to call it, but like the guys were clearly like let down and deflated.
Yeah, sure.
How could you not be, though? How could you not be with how the Iowa game went? And it had to feel the exact same way when you were in the midst of it. Not to mention you've just been getting dumped on, literally rained on for 3 hours. Like, you're probably in a salty mood. You're like, wow, we're gonna blow another one with some other, with some more 1 out of 100 type of mistakes. Just these rare, weird things happening. Self-inflicted again, though. It's the same sort of feeling of like, wow, like just the universe doesn't want us to have this, do they? And that's why I wrote after the game. I don't know if everybody really got the point, but whatever. That's on me, I guess, for not articulating. But I wrote how I think this Michigan game is like the best thing for them right now.
Okay,
it's a different deal. It's a different flavor of everything. Obviously, it can motivate you and focus you in a way no other game can. But of all the possible outcomes, that would be on the table for this team next week, the absolute worst thing that could happen to this team, I think, is another game like the last 2, which I mean is like a comparable peer sort of opponent. You're up, you have control, and you tumble down in your own vomit again. If they did that again, that would be the worst place for this team to be. Much worse, I think, even than 55-0 Michigan. I truly believe that, and so that was my only point there. And I'm not saying that if they played in Nebraska or Minnesota or whatever, that would necessarily happen, but it is on the table, that you could have that same situation where you take control. Oops, there goes, stumbling down the stairs and I'm tumbling out, It could be one of those, another meltdown situation where it's like, wow, we just let another one get away. And at that point, a third straight game like that against a team that you should have beat, I don't know how you come back from that. At least with Michigan, you can say, hey, they've blown the doors off everybody. They're probably going to win the Big Ten. They might win the national title. You can justify and rationalize that a little bit. But if you fumble a bag against Minnesota, just hypothetically, like, I don't know how you come back from that one. So that was my only point with that one, where I do think that for this team at this time, the challenge of Michigan is maybe what they need.
So the line comes out, and different books had anywhere from 19 points to 24 points. And I think many Spartan fans, myself included, were like, wow, that's it. I thought the number in the 40s was going to pop up here. But look, it is a home game. Michigan State, no matter how bad they are, like, they do keep this game somewhat close. However, we've never seen a game under these circumstances, right, where Michigan State is this downtrodden, whether it be, everything going on off the field or, their own self-inflicted wounds that they've had on the field, also some injuries, yada, yada, yada. Look, point blank, Michigan State, a team that probably should be 4-touchdown underdogs at this point. And then Michigan on the other side of the field, well, yeah, just like you said, they have the keys to a national championship over there. So 23.5 right now is where it sits on FanDuel. Does that seem right? Because I do on one hand feel like blasting every single dollar to my name on Michigan because they are a juggernaut. They do want to inflict maximum pain on Michigan State. And also, Steven, I don't know if you had an eye on the game, but I saw on Twitter that Michigan, like when they were up 30 points against Indiana, went for it on 4th and goal against the Hoosiers. Like if they're doing that against lowly Indiana, like they're going to try to score a touchdown every single chance they get. So they could, in theory, hang up 80 on Michigan State here. Or the other half of me is like, scrappy Spartans. Always get up for this game. We never, ever come out flat at home against Michigan. Like, I don't know. What side do you lean on here? Like, what do you see with this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think Michigan's going to win big, but I think that number is probably about, if it was getting up to like the 28 range, I think that would probably be a little too big because of everything you just said. This series, no matter how bad MSU is or good, it doesn't reach blowout territory often.
Right.
It still does. Mark D'Antonio's game was last game, I should say, was not very pretty, but
not great.
Not often.
Right.
It doesn't happen often. They played them close last year, although that was 90% on the back of Keon Coleman, who's no longer here, obviously. Played some good defense, too, that held him to field goals and all that. So I think when you're looking at the line being where it is, I think that comes into play. A night game at MSU comes into play, and then the history. But I absolutely agree with everything you said. Michigan is going to take every opportunity to take every single swing at this team, not just because they're a wounded animal, which they are, but because I still think Michigan, wants to make a statement a little bit because everyone's rightfully criticized their schedule, which is horrendous, which whatever, they did have some control. They don't have control in other ways. I'm not trying to take a shot at their, administration or whatever necessarily. They did get out of some games for sure. But when it comes to the Big Ten and stuff, look, it is what it is. But so I don't know if everybody thinks there's. I could see how they could spin the idea of like, hey, nobody believes in us yet, even though they're number 2 and they're just railroading everybody. But
100%.
Put a big number on them. And then look, the tunnel thing from last year. I think that comes up in their locker room. I doubt it comes up in MSU's really, but there will be that element too. They're not lacking for any reason to really want to put it on Michigan State. And if you're Michigan State, man, you cannot play like you played Rutgers that last drive because Michigan's going to line up and lean on you and just smash mouth right down your throat over and over and over, like the old Marshawn Lynch video, running through your face over and over again. And if your will is not in it, if you're not up for that fight, man, like we're going to see it and it's going to be obvious. So I definitely expect them to come out, and play with more fire and everything. But by the time, if it's not close late in the game, it could get out of hand and it could be one of those rare ones where you end up with a bit of a lopsided score.
And they tried to throw the exclamation point on Michigan State last year. I think it was like a reverse wide receiver pass or whatever. But I mean, it's just going to happen. It's inevitable. And like, I'm not going to, get on this show and say, oh, that's going to be unsportsmanlike. Like, no, I would want Michigan State to do the same thing to Michigan if the script was reversed here, but it's not. But here's where I am. And I hate hopping on here and just being a Debbie Downer so often. But I mean, this team's giving me plenty of reason why to be one, I guess. And I know things will change by Thursday. Like, I'm a sick enough person to, like, that this won't stay the same the whole week. But, like, right now, Steven, as things stand, like, I'm not even letting myself enter the mental space of this is how this team can win. Because even if they do, control the game for the first 3 quarters, let's say a ton of bounces go their way, just like it did on Saturday. They got more than enough bounces their way and some calls their way as well. And it still wasn't enough. Like, that's why I can't even put myself in the mental headspace of, hey, Michigan State can win if they do this, this, and that. Again, by Friday's show, we will do a show of why they can win because I'm sick enough to talk myself into it eventually. But like right now, as like a down the middle reporter like you are, like, can you even carve out a way for Michigan State to win? Or are you just kind of on the side that I am of, hey, I saw this team the last few weeks. Even when things do go their way, they still find a way to screw it up.
The plan would have to start with like Michigan playing their worst game of the year by a couple notches, right? I mean, that's just how it is. They've been steamrolling people. They're running the ball at will. And as we just said, MSU is not super tough against the run right now. They really haven't been that great all year. And I thought they would be with their D-line and the depth there and everything. But if I could have confidence that they could hold them to around 100 yards rushing, maybe a snitch below on your best day, and then say, hey, make JJ McCarthy beat you over the top, and and let guys like Dylan Tatum and Jaden Mangum and Malik Spencer, time to grow up, boys, and show us what you're all about, which I think would be that, but like that is again predicting like Michigan to just be way off their game, and we don't have any evidence that MSU can shut down the run game like that. Michigan runs stuff that you could flip on ESPN Classic from the 90s. Insane. I asked Harlon Barnett about this today because like nobody runs the stuff that this is not I'm tipping my cap here. Old school power fullbacks, double tight, ISO runs, all just run schemes that are from the neck roll eras. You just don't see them anymore. It's not shotgun zone read or toss sweep, get around to the edge. It's physical, just cowboy collars, neck rolls, vertical face mask bars, like throwback football stuff that they do that you just don't see a lot. And their offensive line is outstanding. Their two backs are obviously very, very good. It just, it would have to – a Michigan State win would have to come down to them slowing down the run game, but I just have no reason to believe that. And then defensively, you probably know this, Matt. I don't know if all your listeners do. They've allowed 10 points once. Every other game, single digits.
Not good.
They're pretty good on D this year as well. Yeah. I mean, and Caden Hauser, I thought, had some solid moments to build upon, but
sure,
you had some iffy ones too. And these receivers have let everyone down, quite a bit. They haven't been very scary or hard to contain necessarily. The Nate Carter's a good back, but they haven't run well on most teams. I thought they were okay at Rutgers. It's really, you really got to stretch right now to come up with a couple bullet points, say, hey, here's how MSU wins. That doesn't include like Michigan just falling down the stairs.
We're going to get to recruiting. We're going to go from one lovely topic, something to brighten all of our days, to another one here because Michigan State 2 decommits over the weekend. But first, Steven, I hate to do this. I need to send you to the bench because I got to talk to people's ears off about Prize Picks, the leader in daily fantasy sports. I truly love Prize Picks because, look, they can make any mundane game that I could care less about a hoot and a half. Like, for example, tonight, Cowboys versus Chargers. I could not care any less about these teams. However, I go on Prize Picks, my favorite daily fantasy app, and I have higher than 11.5 rushing yards for Justin Herbert, higher than 15 fantasy points for CeeDee Lamb, and then higher than 1.5 field goals made by Brandon Aubrey. That's $5 to win $25 or something to get the heart pumping a little bit on the couch as I'm watching this Monday night game that otherwise I would not care less about. And you can add a lot more to your slip over at Prize Picks. You can maximize your money by 25. That's right. Turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. And also you can cross over sports as well. Like if you want to get some NBA action in the mix, some NHL action in the mix, or hey, MLB playoffs, you can combine sports as well to maximize your payout here. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege. That's all one word, Locked On College, for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege and use code lockedoncollege for a first deposit match up to $100. It is Prize Picks daily fantasy sports made easy. And let's get the one, the only Stephen Brooks of 24/7 Sports back into the mix here. On Monday, Andrew Dennis, 4-star offensive lineman out of Mount Pleasant, kid who grew up a Michigan State fan too, really stayed the course to get that offer from the Spartans. He's decommitted, which is maybe the toughest blow so far. I know that we've had Reggie Powers decommit, Syair Torrence as well. He decommitted over the weekend as well. Cameron Campbell down in Florida. That makes it 4 decommits for this class. But the Andrew Dennis one, I feel like stings a little bit more just because of how vocal he was and how much of a leader he was for this recruiting class. Now, I will say Andrew Dennis in his statement did say that he still will consider Michigan State in the end. But like, what else can you say other than everyone in this class is the world's softest commit right now until signing day rolls around? Like that's just the way to look at it, right, Steven? That like none of these kids are truly committed amidst everything. I don't know.
I think maybe a little more digestible spin is just like be pleasantly surprised if any of them ever show up here type of thing. It's like, right. What are you like? And I get it's disappointing, but like it really shouldn't take much effort to put yourself in these kids' shoes. What are you committed to right now? What is the program that you're committed to? you know, and if you're, you know, truly locked in and dialed down, like not fielding calls from other schools or taking visits, like, man, you got a lot of blind faith in the MSU administration to hire a good coach. Like, and that's just inadvisable, you know? I mean, and that's you have to be a Spartan to complete your life's mission or whatever. But like, what are you committed to? There's no plan. There's no direction right now. Your coach is with 90+% certainty not going to be here. And maybe one or two assistants stick around, maybe at best, you know. It just, you know, I would almost be disappointed. Like if they were my son, I would almost be disappointed if they weren't back on the market, whether officially or not. Again, you can have those conversations without decommitting and you kind of save yourself a spot and everything, or maybe you don't feel right doing that, whatever. That's everyone's own decision. But yeah, there's no reason not to, because what you're committed to is a total black box. There's no insight or plan right now as to what's going on there. But yeah, I do agree with you that AJ Dennis hurts a little more because he is a guy that's local, a guy that was here, I want to say, every weekend for June official visits. So. Maybe he might have missed one, but he took his, and then he came down on his own time the rest of the weekends to be a recruiter for the rest of the class, and was vocal on social media and helped recruit guys in there and everything. I do think, given all those things, he's more likely than your average guy to maybe circle back if they make the right hire. Yeah, I know he's been visiting and talking to some other Big Ten teams, Illinois, Purdue, Penn State. I think sort of the ones that he's been in contact with. But I could see a scenario where maybe he holds off until a new coach is hired to say, okay, I'm interested. I want to have some conversations there, or, you know, I'm going to go this other direction. But they're now under double digits, you know, and like I said at the top, it's just hard to see anybody. I think at this point you take anybody as a pleasant surprise if they actually sign, because it makes all the sense in the world to look elsewhere and explore your options when they just don't know what's going to happen right now. It'll be up to the new coach, to whoever that is. You know, if you're Michigan State, you obviously hope you can get them in place sooner than later after that Penn State game, as soon as possible, really, after that Penn State game, to spend that last couple of weeks trying to round these guys back up. Because right now, you know, it's looking like it's probably going to be a bit of a wasted cycle, quite honestly.
And not to go like full-fledged sky is falling here, like I will add a little bit of light. I mean, let's all look at the era that we're in right now. Like, yes, Michigan State could very well like sign single-digit kids in this recruiting class, but like luckily with the transfer portal era being what it is right now, like you can mitigate the damage what a recruiting cycle like this can do to a program. So like it is going to be bad. I think we've made that abundantly clear, and I think a lot of State fans by now know that like this is not going to be a sterling recruiting class coming up. I mean, just for number of kids, not who's in the class, but just the sheer number of kids. But depending on the coach that you get, how aggressive he is in the transfer portal, hopefully we don't bring in someone that's super stubborn with the portal, but like it can be mitigated a little bit. So let's just all ride this ship until it finds shore somehow, I guess. That's
you can get good in college football faster than ever before.
You can.
That's the bright side, I guess, for folks. I know it feels really low right now, and I get it. But
it's terrible. I hate it. Yeah. Well, I'm actually gonna. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, just the idea that like right around the last month, I heard a lot of Mel set this program back X amount of years, 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever. Not at all. No, he didn't, because you can come in and flip this thing faster than at any other point in history. Especially if you get the right coach. But that's not a concern. So don't dump your tickets yet and lose yourself in the pecking order, or whatever, however that all process works with donations and seat licenses and all that, because 2 years from now, this team could be, as crazy as it sounds, competing for the Big Ten title. It really could. That's just the way the sport is right now.
I mean, hey, with all the things that Michigan State has at their disposal, I mean, it can be a fast process here. But yeah, right now we just kind of got to wallow in the mud right now. I do have to read this line from Syair, Torrence's decommitment note that he posted on Twitter. He ended it with, quote, "Praying I find a stable, consistent football home as my journey continues." Syair, don't we all? Like, I know that he's, of course, speaking about himself here as a high school kid trying to find a home, but like, oh God, don't State fans feel the same way? I'm just praying I find a stable, consistent football home as my journey continues here. Anyway, Stephen, we're going to bring this up at the very end of the show here, because truly, who cares about this topic I'm going to bring up? But you know what? You got two fellow former State news writers on here, and News broke on Twitter that the decades-old tradition of the State News versus Michigan daily football game, the game that happens the night before the rivalry, it's a touch football game between both student newspapers. It looks like that tradition is ending this year, or at least taking a pause. The game will not be played. Now, there are plenty of people that are absolutely positively fired up about this touch football game before the game that people actually care about takes place. I can't get that fired up about it because, again, this is a game that we played in 10 years ago. And I can, quite frankly, see why that the State News doesn't want to play in this game that's usually 50 kids versus 20 kids. And, of the 20 kids that the State News brings, at least this was the case 10 years ago, I don't even know if half those kids could identify a football before this game even happened, Steven. No disrespect to anyone, but the State News hires people to do journalism, and then they're going up against a Michigan daily team that seems to run a legitimate offense every single year. So yeah, I could see why this game is ending right now, Steven. Do you have any passionate thoughts about this for the 7 people that care?
Not super passionate, no. I thought a lot about it the day that it came out, and it is a bummer. It is. I played in 3 of those games.
Okay,
I want to say at least 2. I think it was 3 though, and. They were some of the best memories of my college experience. But the folks need to know it is different. The State News gets clowned because we haven't won in going on 20 years or something like that now.
It's a while. Yeah, it's a while.
Half dozen since we scored a touchdown. Even I don't know, but
right.
That's the thing. The State News has a hard, rigid staff. You are an employee there for the semester. You have to show up.
Yeah.
At least this is how it was when we were there. I don't think it's changed too much. You're expected to show up 5 days a week. And there's a head count, there's a budget. You get paid there. The daily is more of, again, at least it was 10 years ago, but it's more of just a free flowing sort of open forum. Hey, you want to, pitch a story, get a story. Here's a byline. You got a story? Right. All right, we can publish that. We can publish. There's no confined, rigid roster of reporters and writers where it's these are who we have. It's literally anybody on campus, just come write a little freelance piece, and now you're considered a daily staffer. Maybe that's changed, so I apologize if I'm off the mark there. But that literally gives you unlimited leeway to get whoever you want. Go get the 10 best kids at the rec center, the most athletic kids. Get a couple 6'3" dudes who look like they can run, and say, hey, come sit in on our op-ed meeting, so it looks like you're part of this, And not that we might not have dabbled in ringers, during my time there. That may or may not have happened.
No, either team. No, come on. Don't be ridiculous.
There's always half as many people. You have to hope you have a couple journalism kids at Michigan State who are semi-athletic, who know what the rules of football are. So it really hasn't been there's reasons, I guess, I'll just say, for why it's been so lopsided. And the State News has been at a major, major disadvantage in that game. Not in any other way, though. I'll never give them any other credit in that regard. We're still on top of everything else. So I do wish they would play it. I'm going to miss it if it's gone for good, for sure, because I think it was a great, great tradition. Even with the losses, I never won a game. But as I said, still some of the best memories. But all that said, I'm not pounding the table for them to play. I'm not fired up. I'm not tweeting or sending letters to anybody. I also don't really understand the idea that they came up with as a compromise to do a FOIA op-ed or something. That's fine. But you could also play a football game. You could do both. There's nothing prohibiting that as well, I guess. But it is what it is. I guess now I'm back in my day, guy, because
I know,
one of the tenets of our time there was that game, and we talked about it all year, whether it was serious or tongue in cheek or whatever. And if that's gone now, then I guess I'm back in my day, guy. Which, man, that's realizing that kind of sucks, but it is.
We are big glory days. Yeah, we're doing full glory days radio right now because one thing that I've seen a lot of the current State News people is the Daily takes it way too seriously, and I'm sitting on my laptop so did I 10 years ago. I took it incredibly seriously 10 years ago. So I can't go in that camp of the Daily cares too much and take it too seriously, whatever. But I guess I do have a big opinion on their compromise idea of both papers getting together to do this journalism assignment. And I don't want to throw dirt on the State News because those are very hardworking kids, but our compromise is more journalism work. I don't know. You know what the State News doesn't need any more of? More journalism work. I mean, Steven, again, we worked there 10 years ago, but those were some of the hardest weeks of work that I've had, even in my professional career since I've graduated. Those were 50, sometimes 60-hour weeks we were working. I don't think you need to bring both schools together to do even more work on top of what you're already doing. But I digress. I'm just the old man yelling at a cloud now. But yeah, dude, do you remember how crazy those weeks were? Because our weeks were Sunday through Thursday, and you're still working Friday, Saturdays. But like, do you just remember the ragers we would have on Thursdays? Because first of all, we're fun college kids. We like to tie one on. But my God, it was just stress drinking to the moon. Like, those were legendary parties on Thursday nights once the work week was done at the State News. Not to sound problematic, because it's okay to do that in college. But like, whew, boy. More journalism work not needed for the State News. No offense to the idea. Given
for a staff that's covering a presidential search and a coaching search.
God, yeah.
On top of whatever else they got going on every day over there. I'm not over there every day seeing what's going on, but yeah, whatever other projects and things they're looking into. So
you can do an outdoor activity, right? It doesn't have to be football, but like, I don't think we need to pitch like, hey, let's come together and do more work.
Yeah, more.
I don't think that's what you need
in the office
right now. Yeah. So, again, I literally cannot imagine that more than 7 people care about this, but hey, you got 2 former State News people who might as well kill time, banter about it, because I have just some opinions. Again, not great opinions, nothing that I'm losing sleep over, but yeah, that's just my thoughts of like, I can see why the game's canceled, and I don't know about that idea. That's really it.
The important part is people just got to understand, the State News was relying on having like, out of like a 40-person staff, and it's probably
tops. Was it even that much? I don't even know what it was
maybe
that
at some point. Let's have a random cross section of 30 college kids. You need enough to be athletic to hold up in a game against another team that can pick from anybody on campus, basically. So that just want to explain why we've lost 15 in a row or whatever it was. Yeah. There's some constraints and some restrictions on one end that aren't on the other end. I'll just say that.
And do you know who is just famously oozing athletic jocks? The journalism rooms at every colleges across the country. Right. So, look, we were the more talented people on the teams, if that's saying something. If you really want a look as to how dire the situation was here, I was playing quarterback, guys. That's what we were looking at here. So, not necessarily a first-round draft pool of talent here, but hey, good memories. They might be coming to an end for the current guys, and like, honestly, if that's what makes them happy, that's great. Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'll miss it if it's gone, but it didn't raise my heart rate really any. I don't have a strongly worded letter to send to the newsroom or anything like that.
I've got an actual football team to worry about that makes me lose enough sleep. So there we go. Well, Steven, this was awesome. Anything you want to pitch here before we let you go? God, we went long today. Lockdown is not going to like this, but oh well. It'd be like that sometimes.
Sorry, Mr. Lockdown. No, I'm good. Just go to SpartanTailgate.com. Sign up as a VIP member. You can get your first month for $1. We're running specials all the time, but that's a great entry point. And stay along for the ride with us. I'm still, I usually have VIP stuff before and after every game, and then all throughout the week we got recruiting stuff when that's happening. It is happening in basketball, and then probably a lot of our coaching search stuff when that actually the wheels actually start to turn on that. Whatever we can gather there will most likely be either on our VIP board or under that paywall. So. Give us a shot there if you like me or Corey or Justin or Sean or anybody we got over there, Alan True, Steve Wilfong, and give us their support that way, and we'd really appreciate it.
I like everyone you just named, except for that Justin fella over there. That squirrely Justin. No, I'm kidding. No, you guys do great work over there. So, yeah, go subscribe to the fine folks at Spartan Tailgate. All right, you guys are truly the best. Love every single one of you. Well, we'll be back tomorrow because, again, we do this 5 days a week. Love you all.